Eid Mubarak. Society is one serial killer that had been there and been ignored by probably stakeholders who are concerned actually working towards curbing this. It's rape. Daily in Nigeria, as you hear banditry, insecurity, with it comes rape. Our mothers, our daughters, domestic. Despite this rising case of rape in Nigeria, there's I'm experienced experts who will be talking about gender-based violence, not just today. It will become a mainstay on this platform. Educators, effects, and solutions from and study of victims can help us stop this menace and curb rape in Nigeria. Now, here it is. I will be Higby.
I thought
Who actually is in the forefront of it all. Welcome, madam.
Thank you for having me.
Now, here is this. Mrs. Funke Felicia Obafemi, like I said before, is an author, and she's a lead trainer at the Esther's Generation Relief Initiative, TEGRI, and an NGO focused on creating a world where women and children, especially girls, are well taken care of and are sexually safe. She has over 8 years experience in border communities to deal with this menace we call rape. And on the other hand, Mr. Lemmy is a strong advocate against child and gender rights and the media personality and a critic, a social critic, political critic, I should say, and a public opinion influencer, so to speak, and a development communication consultant. He also has been in the forefront fighting for people who have had this experience, these terrible experiences, finding solutions to their troubles, helping them with therapy and the models to actually get them back into living like normal people. I will start with Madame, sir, since we're going with the lady first. Ma'am, rape. Please explain to us and tell us why has rape come to stay in Nigeria and where have we missed it?
All right, thank you very much. The subject rape is not a locational subject, so I will not say it has come to stay in Nigeria alone. It's a global issue. It's a global fight, and Nigeria happens to be a country. And so far, you will agree with me that the rate at which we get the feedback or we get reactions for rape has increased because of the digital world we find ourselves. So it's been there. Rape has been there. If you take a statistic of maybe 10 women today, maybe way back those in their 40s, and ask them, Did you experience something like this when you were growing up? You agree that a lot of persons will say yes. Maybe 9 out of 10 will tell you yes, I had issues with maybe molestation or abuse or rape. So it's been with us, but over time, it's we experience a spike in rape due to a lot of factors, which I believe this platform will help us to unfold as we go on. And for me, I think a lot of this problem can be associated to um, family upbringing. It can be associated to economy. It can be associated with the social how do I put it now? The socialization agents of a child. So everything boils down to the root. So when we want to talk about the issue of rape, we need to look deep into the root cause of rape and not just what we see now that is the outcome of the action. So I will take you back to a family thing. I will take you back to socialization agent place. So I think that's where we can start discussing the issue called rape.
So she mentioned global, that it's not just local. And I realized that rape has created monsters because nobody goes through such experience and become normal except with good help from good
Sure.
people who actually understand the effects of rape and our society. Where did we miss it? And what can we do?
Okay, perhaps in responding to this, it will be important because of the experiences we've had, information we've gathered from going out to the field. Some time ago, Men Against Rape and Make a Difference initiative went to do some advocacy at the motor parks in Utako, and we discovered the reactions of so many men to the topic of rape. And we you would hear some of they call them agberos say why they chop my own kobe, why they take my drink. Then they say no, they don't want make we do. Now we need to understand that because it's a very strong thing they are saying.
Mhm.
Um, Rape, it's the sexual engagement of another person without his or her consent.
Mhm.
One, that's one definition. Two, rape also has the aspect of child sexual abuse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where a child is also less than 18
Mhm.
by the constitutional definition. If it's less than 18 and you engage him or her in sexual relations, the law calls it rape. Where did we get it wrong? Where did we get it right? We'll trace it.
Mhm.
If our constitution says until you are 18, 1 to 17, you are a baby, you are a minor. Okay? That means the constitution has envisaged that nobody can engage that person under 18 in sexual relations. Society also got it wrong when society decided to say, okay, there is the criminal code and there's the penal code. Because penal code now says um, if the girl is 14 or less than 14 but has started showing signs of puberty, she can be married off and engaged in sexual relations.
So you think
Now that's already, because the constitution is the ground norm, it's the
Mhm.
authority. Every other law is subordinate to it. So the point of inconsistency of the penal code, it should be struck down. That provision that allows you to engage a 14-year-old girl in marital or sexual relationship.
Mhm.
Now, because the constitution says 18 is the age, and you will remember the Child Rights Act was also passed. That also says 18 is the age of consent.
Consent.
So, what amazes me is a society, the culture of silence, the conspiracy of culture, tradition, upgraded to a law. Because again, if not for conspiracy, how will lawmakers, how will lawyers, very senior lawyers, senior advocates of Nigeria, keep quiet and allow a law that breaches the constitutional right of the child to grow up as a child? because the constitution says a child must be allowed to grow and mature as a child. Until he's 18, you can't engage the child. So our law itself has created our law, and the conspiracy of people, leaders who should address it, have created the reason we have increasing spike in this pandemic.
Mom, he actually has opened up a can that we have issues to deal with.
True.
The most important unit of a society is a family.
True.
What happened? How did our families come to allow this scourge to rise?
All right. There's a saying that you can give what you don't have. Now, from what he said, when he went to the park and they were saying, "Where will you take my Nkwobi?"
And they responded honestly.
Do you understand?
Because that's how they see it.
Now, the truth is, we claim not to understand what is happening, but the truth is, as a family, at the family level, let me say we have failed. We're just trying to pick up now. Why? Because most parents don't even know why they are parents. We don't even understand the concept of parenting. We don't even know what are the rights of a child. Some of us see our children as our belongings. We see them as people we can pick at any time and drop at any time. We use them for a whole lot of things. We have forgotten that this child has a right, a constitutional right. You understand? So from the family level, the father of the child, or the mother of a child, what are the values that they are, translating and transferring to that child? What do they even know about rape? What do they even know about parenting? What do they even know about preventive sexualization? What do they even know about sexual education? What do they even know about sex themselves? So for example, sometimes when we do some of those activities and we ask parents, when were you told about sex? Who told you about sex? Who opened the conversation of sex to you? They'll tell you nobody did. Up till now, I found to know about this issue called sex myself. Maybe from friends in school, maybe from what we read. And so many parents don't even know how to guide their children when it comes to the subject of sex. Everybody say like a taboo. You don't talk about sex at home. You don't talk about it in church. You don't talk about it in school. When you talk about sex, you are being seen like, what's wrong with you? So we shy away from the truth. We don't educate these children. And then the only weapon you can give to a child is the education that you give to that child. So when you give a child an education on sexuality education, the child is able to identify traces when he or she sees a pedophile, or when he or she sees someone who is a predator. So from that family level, we don't even understand what parenting is. So a large extent, we don't even have the resources. We don't even know ourselves. Talk more of giving value to our own children. So I think from that family level, knowledge, ignorance is one. Second, there's no time. Most parents are, rushing every day, going out, hustling, looking for money and all of that. And you forget to train up that child and to give them the information they need to know about all of these things that we're talking about, especially rape.
Okay, sorry, just so I can maybe lend some more explanation to the intervention at the motor park. Now, we must tell the men, when you ask a lady for a date, that first date is called window shopping. The lady has honored you by agreeing to have a drink with you. You asked her out. So she's having the drink. Be the best gentleman you can be. Be the best version of yourself. Because it is based on how you come out to her that decides whether or not she wants to get to know you better. Okay? So the fact you took her out to have a drink and Nkwobi or Ngwongwo does not in any way mean she has consented. She has actually been a lady, polite enough to give you a chance to sell yourself. Okay? Yeah. That's one. Two, society. She talked about family. It's very important. But again, the family, remember, lives in a society. Our society is a patriarchal society. Patriarchy has affected both the man and the woman, both the father and the mother, both the girl and the boy. Patriarchy allows the man and the boy to, for instance, sexualize the woman, see her as a sex object. And that's the reason, instead of when you see a lady well dressed, looking good, instead of you saying, wow, you look beautiful, this is wonderful, you say, you look sexy. It's such an inappropriate comment. Any man who is not intimately involved with you should never say you look sexy.
So you're talking
That
about
is
language.
already
That's
sexual.
the
Yes,
language.
that is sexualizing her already. Okay.
Mindset.
Now, as a young secondary school student, I read a book by Viktor Frankl, a German, Man's Search for Meaning. There, I read in that book, if you offer a girl a bottle of Coke or a drink of whatever form, she takes the drink, then you begin to make a pass at her, you are guilty of coercing her. You are guilty of attempted rape. I read it as a secondary school student.
Wow.
So, because again, if you knew you were interested in that aspect, sell yourself. It is after you have had an MOU and understanding, then you buy the Coke. So the whole idea of Nkwobi and all that, tell the lady what you want. The fact that she took an offer from you does not give you the leverage. Now, we talk about patriarchy and how you and I, how the girl, how the boy, how the woman, how the man was socialized. And because you were socialized, that's the reason you see a man say, as we speak now, he says, when a woman says no, she means yes. Those are wrong notions that have always been there, but it's a product of the patriarchal upbringing that we have. That's one. Two,
psychology to them.
yes. Two, the boy, the girl is taken care of. She's made to wake up early, go and clean the house, go and cook, go and do this, go and do that. The girl is being brought up to be wife material. She's being beaten into shape. They are refining her, they are getting her there. The boy wakes up when he chooses to wake up, stretches his legs and begins to watch television. In doing all of that and play games and do all of that, what are you saying? You are making the girl already feel inferior. You are making the boy feel like a superhuman. And that's part of what happens, that when the boy grows into a man, he begins to domestically abuse his wife. Because, of course, he believes that he is king and lord of the manor, and the wife should not have a divergent opinion. It is how we were socialized. We talk about gender-based violence. We talk about traditional harmful practices. Who are those who actually enforce it? Women too are victims of a patriarchy. And that's why when they say a man dies and the woman is forced to shave her hair, the woman is forced to drink water from the cups, who are those who enforce it? The men stand, and the women, no, the women are the ones, the umuadas. They are known as the umuadas. They are the ones who enforce it, because they are also victims of patriarchy.
So they feel
Yes, so they will be the ones enforcing it. Meanwhile, it is a harmful practice against the woman. So we need a lot of education. We need a lot of advocacy. Fathers must be intentional in parenting. Mothers must be intentional. Because if you are intentional, then we have to also address the issue of NBC would say you cannot use certain words. And because of that, you have created mystery around the body parts. Every family has a different name for calling the male genital. Every family has a different name for calling. So the child is abused in class, in primary, and the child does not even have the opportunity of talking to the father or the mother, and cannot even identify the part. So we must break barriers and raise our voices against the culture of rape by making sure that things that make it possible for rape to thrive are addressed, including gender-based violence like beating your wife. Section 55 of the Penal Code says, if you have married your wife by native law and custom, you can pick the whip and strike her as though a child or a slave. And we have lawyers all over the country who have allowed that to thrive. These are the instruments that should be dealt with, while we are also empowering parents to know their role. We're also empowering even responders, GBV responders, and also the police. Because you go to the police station that you are a victim, And the police will be casual about it and say, Madam, is it the first time that they have raped you? Is it the first time you're having sex? Have you not had it before? And all of that. So there is so much that needs to be done, but we must all come together, pull our resources together, and talk about it.
Well, he said a lot, and man, with all of this, what comes to mind is what you really started with: education.
Yeah.
Where do we begin as a society to start talking about sex? Because once you talk about sex, we talk about rape. It's something it's not hidden.
Mm-hmm.
Our society does not allow such conversations. What can we do to turn the curve? Because the truth is, when a parent can have these sensitive conversations, the child finds out from a wrong, mostly from a wrong source.
Yeah, true.
Because the most trusted is your family.
True.
Now, once the father, the mother loses the opportunity to educate and to instruct and direct the child's path to goodness, they get it from probably an aunt somewhere who has an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
How do we turn this curve? Because the most important persons in our life shouldn't be the most important person shouldn't be money. Yes, it is good, but the children, because once you get the money for the children are actually not in good mind frames, what happens? So what do we do to turn the curve now?
All right, thank you so much. And Mr. Lemmy, thank you for that very educative one that you gave us. I want to start with saying that you cannot give what you don't have, like I said. So everyone in the family, starting from the father to the child, must be educated.
That means they must unlearn to relearn.
Yes.
So we're starting our first. This is a class now.
You relearn and you unlearn. So number one, who is a child? As a parent, what am I supposed to do? So number one, you want to find out as a parent yourself, you need to be willing and deliberate to learn about sexuality education and how to pass it across. Now we have what we call age appropriate sexuality education. So you cannot come to a 2-year-old and you're saying sex. The child does not have that understanding yet. So there's something we call age appropriate sexuality education. And that's what we do in my organization. We start teaching children about sex from cradle to adulthood. How do I mean? Some people will tell you that, how do you tell a child, a 1-year-old child or a 1 year, 6-month-old child, how do you tell the child about sex? I say, you can. As a matter of fact, as a mother, you can speak to your child from the womb and the child responds to you. So the kind of environment you put yourself also affect the growth of the child. So if my child grows up and she is from the age of 18 months, because in my organization we believe that from 18 months to 18 years, you can, raise a wholesome child. And so we break our modules into age appropriate brackets and modules in which at every milestone of a child, the child is able to know what he or she needs to know about sex at that particular bracket. So for example, from ages 18 months to 3 years, it's that age where they need to know themselves. We call it my body and eye age. They need to know what their body is. Like Mr. Lemmy said, you don't need to call the penis Totoro or Kokoro or something different. No, you call the genitals the name that the child should know. So your vagina is your vagina as a girl, and your penis is your penis as a boy. Your breast, every part of the body. At that age, we tell them what a public part is and what a private part is. Yeah. So once they are able to identify, no stranger is allowed to go into your privacy. So your public part can be seen, and your private parts are covered by nature. So when you begin to give, so how do I tell a child of 18 months your public and your private? You don't have to say it in words. There are different forms of learning. We learn through songs, we learn through dancing, we learn in different forms. So you come from the angle of songs. Children are open to songs. They like to sing, they like to dance. So you do something around songs and rhymes for them. And so they're able to connect with that. Some of that they are singing it, even you, if you are the predator, you'll be running away because you assume the child knows what he or she is saying because you have already given her the understanding through that music. So at that age, they can learn from that angle and they can learn, bit by bit. You're dealing with a child. Some of us, we do information overload. We give too much information to a child and the child is confused.
Exactly.
So at that level, they just need to know what their body part is. And another bracket is awareness. They need to know. At that point, you see a 5-year-old, they will be asking you, If you're telling them to do something, they'll say, why? Why should I? At that age, they are questioning why they are supposed to do something. That age, you are telling them about curiosity, what they need to know, who a predator is, signs that shows that this person, if anybody that tries to touch your breast, is somebody you should
Yeah.
run away from. Anybody that takes you to a secret place and say uncover, open your whatever, is someone you need to what, run away from, and then report appropriately. Now, how can a child come to me and be open to me if I have not given the child room
To probably say and
to
ask
say? So as
questions.
parent too, the law of parenting says that you must be able to handle information, because if I cannot trust you with information, I won't come to you to tell you anything more. So as parents, are we open to our children?
Yeah.
Are we accommodating? Some of us go to work and come back and we're like, and they are coming to tell us,
Mm.
mommy, do you know what
I
happened
beg,
in
I'm
school
tired.
today? And I say, no, 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 can you
Go
go
to
to your
your
room?
room.
And then we just disperse them, and they're like, wow. And the next person they want to talk to is the house help or the auntie, and the auntie is telling them, oh, is that what is going on? Okay, it's good, let me teach you what the person is trying to say. And before you know it, they are giving the child the wrong information because you are not available. And then just to say that the time that we don't have as parents is what a predator
Yeah.
or someone grooming a
Takes
child will
advantage
give.
of. Yeah.
So because you don't have the time, the person will give
Mm.
that time and take advantage of that child. So much the child will now trust the
Understand.
perpetrator.
And fall victim.
Yes, they will trust perpetrator even, and decide not to trust you as a parent. So even when you want to fight for the child and say, you know what, this person has done wrong, we need to take up this case, they'll tell you, no, don't touch him, he's my friend.
He has been there all this
Yeah.
while. He
Yes,
missed out.
because you were not there.
And that child is damaged.
Yes.
Added to that, sir, before we say goodbye on this maiden edition, because we will be letting people know that look, this we've not even scratched the surface
At
of this
all.
topic. So, advocacy, rape, gender-based violence advocacy versus religion versus culture. One, is this in opposing pole to religion, culture? Because usually there's this resistance that look, when people advocate such as this, they look at that, no, you're against our culture, you're against our religion.
Mm.
What, or is this in a way helping us build a good society, have a good moral community? So, like I said, advocacy versus culture versus religion. What are your words, sir?
Okay. All of life is an evolution.
Yeah.
Life evolves. Religion, culture must evolve. Okay. And we've been talking about education and advocacy as the twin panacea for all of this evil going on. There's a lot of misunderstanding and misconception. Ignorance is palpable, it's in the air. If you look at it closely, culture and tradition have been upgraded to seem to be religion. And I say this from a position of knowledge. And I'll use, for instance, because I remember when I started interrogating the penal code and the provisions that do, because we are talking religion, a lot of people think the penal code is basically tailored for Islam, but it is a misconception. It is culture and tradition of the people of the North that has been upgraded to a penal code. It is not religion. I say this from a position of knowledge. Why? The penal code says at 14, or when the child is less than 14, she can be married off. Okay? Now, people confuse that and imagine that that is what Islam says. And I say this because during my advocacy, our organizations had advocacy to the National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs last year. And there, the leadership of the National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs outrightly told us that Islam does not encourage child marriage. And the penal code does. That's one point. Two, they supported this argument, which you can see if you all you need to do is go and browse, go to Google and browse. And National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs says Islam forbids child marriage, and you will see the advocacy with it as it was reported in the newspapers online. That's one. Two, the same Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs gave us 5 hadiths. Hadiths are what? Canons from the prophets. And one of the hadiths, all of them go to the same issue, but one that I remember very strongly says, if you have married your, if you have raised your daughter, if a man raises his daughter to the age of maturity before he marries her off, he has a special place in paradise. That is one of the canons of the prophet given to me by the National Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, which supports the fact that penal code is not necessarily religion. Okay, so what do we need to do? We need to continue talking. We need to continue advocacy.
Sure.
Remember that Saudi Arabia itself stopped child marriage. In fact, there's a law now that criminalizes you if you marry a girl who is under 18. The law was passed in Saudi Arabia. So it tells you that ignorance has made people to upgrade culture and tradition and make it seem like it is religion. It is not. So we must continue to speak up. I like this. Give education and advocacy in a way that is constructive, that the people who are in the dark, our role is to bring them into light and understanding.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lemmy, and thank you, Madam Felicia.
Yeah.
Viewers, we can't exhaust this just one episode. Like I said before, this is now a mainstay on Voicetv Nigeria. We will avail you number so you can call in. Please send in your comment because they will help us build future episodes. We will avail you the time that you'll be joining us to discuss these gender-based violence topics, because weekly we'll be making people understand first, as we profile the problems, we profile solutions to all the problems on ground, and avail you sources for therapy to get you back integrated into society, because any troubled victim is actually a monster waiting to explode. And if we don't identify them and make them feel loved, because basically they feel stigmatized, our society is known for that. They feel unloved, our society is known for that. We need to change the curve and the perception, and we need to open our arms to these people because they're one of us. They never meant to be raped. They never sought out to be victims. But here it is. People are going through a lot, and then we feel even those going through a lot, we should explain to them that no matter what your problems are, you do not have to harm the next person. And we say thank you for joining us. These wonderful people will be your faces you'll be seeing, will be the faces you'll be seeing every time we discuss this and prefer solutions. And we say subscribe and like our buttons, and then we say join us again as we bring to you wonderful topics that will educate, enlighten, and bring us together as a people. Thank you, and Eid Mubarak.
Thank you.
Thank you, wonderful people, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.